Bold, inspiring, and dynamic Bolaji O Akinyemi is a farmer by training and practice. He is the president of an apostolic and prophetic teaching mandate, the Voice of His Word Ministries, which birthed the Apostolic Round Table, ART, after an uncommon encounter on the 10th of January 2018. His passion to see a better Nigeria led to the formation of Project Victory Call, aka PVC NAIJA, with the aim of charting a new course for Nigeria by enlightening citizens to be interested and involved in engaging credible and productive leadership at all levels of governance. He is one man with a divine mandate for a change of order in governance through art platforms like this, which educate the electorate, establish values for their vote, and give directions to all presidential candidates. He has successfully done this for 5 years, adding value to conversations on Nigeria's development. Ladies and gentlemen, One Man 2023 Conference with a standing ovation. Please welcome the convener, Dr. Bolaji Akinyemi.
I guess you were clapping for me, and if you were clapping for me, I will tell you not to bother, because this is not a moment of applaud to any man. It's a moment of serious discussion concerning the nation that the Lord has given to us. So if you are glad to be here and you're prepared for what God will be bringing our way, the fellowship we're here to ignite, I'd like you to clap for the Lord who made it possible. I will appreciate it if the timer is working, so that you can time me. Give me like 10 minutes, I will be out of here. You know, when Nigeria is the discussion, no time is ever enough for me. So, and we have to do what we have to do within the time that we have to do them. Let me begin by appreciating God who stepped into my bedroom on the 10th of January 2018. I had an unusual encounter that brought me into the space. And the cost of that encounter is the reason it's so difficult for us to subject what God has committed into our hand, into what is the familiar, in the terrain, which is trading. It is impossible after such an encounter for you to trade with the destiny of people, because all that I knew to do, the Lord took it out of my hand that day and mandated me to close the church that I was pastoring and to go gather his sheep scattered on the hill of northern Nigeria. That is the reason why the passion has been so strong. That is the reason why in 2019, those who came to me and demanded price of us for what we have done and how we can put it behind what they were doing, I said to them that if you give me the key to Central Bank, it won't be possible. And that is the truth, because the picture of the one who came into my bedroom is the driving force of what we have done so far. So can we in one moment appreciate God that at least we have one man in the space who is not intending to become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but whom the Lord had revealed the things that we have to do to. I want to appreciate my father all the way from northern Nigeria. Our first meeting was when CNNC put together a platform to settle the crisis at the border of Benue State and Taraba State. And then I was reached out to, and my company, Master Builder Communication, consulted for. I appreciate you dearly, and going forward, whatever it is that the Lord is asking us to do, we do together. Now, the reason I said that is because those who are familiar with our operation, when we go to states, we just set up our platform and then we send invitation to candidates, every one of them. and then we wait for them. We don't push, we just wait for them to come. Because if we send you a letter and you are not even magnanimous enough to look through the letter and respond to letter from her, we just guess what will happen when you become the president of the Fulegba community. I observed something about the country, and I wrote him a letter, and he bothered to reply my letter. To do a lot of recognition, but I must appreciate the fathers who came out to us from the north. We have here, of course, the president of the Middle Belt Forum, the man with the 40 million ballot project, and he's damn serious about it. Dr. Brutus Poga, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you. We have one of the badly hit community, represented here by the president of Southern Kaduna People's Union, so Kapu. Dr. Deo, thank you so much for coming. We have our sister who came in all the way from Gombe, a very strong influence on women in that region. Thank you so much for coming. These are the people with whom we have built strong alliance. And I want you to know that whatever it is that we agree here is what will be taken down to those communities. And you can be sure, like I said to somebody, I said, one of my challenge with the church is that the church is very lazy. We're lazy. The big two was our consideration in the last election. The big three is our consideration in this election. And I'm wondering what the problem is. When one denomination in Nigeria can make anybody the president. But because it's going to demand a lot of hard work, and the work is not hard because it's about deploying structure of the church, deploying the technology of the church. We experimented with that in a state I don't want to mention, where a very good friend of mine was running for governorship, and he thought that I will be on his side. I preached for him. He's a pastor. I preached for him more than 5 times in his house. But some of us have covenanted to the church, to the kingdom, that only the kingdom alone is important to us. I'd have to work against my brother in his state because I sat with the church. We look at the pros and cons, and we advise the church, you are better off with a candidate I don't know, I have never met, I am yet to meet, and we structure it. And today, the record is there speaking. And so we know that these things are doable. And I believe that we'll be able to do that effectively. I have quite a number of my friends, people who are special. Recognition will be given to each and every one of you. But I won't go into what I have to say here without recognizing a brother who has been strong in the bond of prayer and is out here with me again. And this man is one man to a generation. And I was talking about him to some people. I said, let's look at the size of this church. And if in the space of 1 year, we have people whose status have changed in his church, teaching them how to make investment. And they made investment of just $100, not $1,000, $100. My son is part of that investment, so I can tell you for good what it's all about. Training them how to trade online. And in the space of 4 months, they all have a brand new car. Not Tokumbo, brand new car, to motivate them for the investment that they have made. And I'm not talking about 10 people. I'm talking about 120 people. That's one man sent to a generation to change the face. And I said to people, I said, there's no Nigeria who doesn't pay more than $100 as tax per annum. And what has been the motivation for our tax? Celebrate with me the pastor of Force of Grace Ministry, Alfred Rewani, my own brother, CJ. We call him PCJ. Thank you so much for all you do for these young people the Lord strengthen you to do more and more. Now, it's more of protocol for me, but you can understand. When the Lord gave the vision, there are persons you have to submit this vision to. And I know that people who are regular pastors cannot understand it. And somehow, the Lord led me to someone who came from the bosom of paraphernalia, whose prophecy is one of our motivation. And I'm so glad to have him as a spiritual covering for our nation building project. Ladies and gentlemen, recognize the presence of my father in CAP. You see, a Kingdom Dimension Camp. They just, amen, celebrate. I like to call him Daddy John Adejorolua. Thank you so much for being there. Now, let me rush through this. I may not read from the top because you have it in your program. That is the convener speech. I would just want to go to the tail end, and we can take it off from there. Let me take it from the page 3 I have here. It says, Singapore rose from the third world to a first world, queuing and taking their march behind one man, Lee Kuan Yew. The rise of China lifted about 800 million people out of poverty when the needed one man was found. Brazil was under the leadership of one man, Lula da Silva, and they saw 400 million exit poverty. At the height of the Asian crisis, the Western media, in a bid to stamp the influence of their government, regularly pillowed Malaysia Dr. Mahathir Mohamad for not taking a loan from the IMF with his usual back-breaking conditionality. At the end of the day, Malaysia was stronger and better for it under their one man. Beyond politics, the question we are here to answer is, who is the one man for us as a nation among the 18 in the race? And if this race doesn't have, underline what I'm saying, if this race doesn't have the one man, who should be the space holder for the next 4 years, and how should politics be done in the space of that time? I am amused at how ignorant the leadership of the church are, or are pretending to be, as Christians against the background of obvious onslaught of error targeted on her faith. Please pardon my language. A child will be left to nothing but tantrums if the parent refuses to listen to his blah, la boo, blue, la blah. Apologies to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is sad that the polity is heated to boiling point without conscientious attempt to address real issue that bordered on our existence in our quest for political survival. The fate of who become the president is not a real issue at this point. There is a conspiracy, and it is complicated, and no one but God's one man can save God's plan for Africa. But Nigeria, in context of our discussion, there is the Western conspiracy that want to keep Africa for what it is to them. There is the one from China that want to edge out the West on African soil and have us for what we are to the West. There is the Islamic agenda that want Africa for the same reason as West and China. Note what I've said. Everything they call that agenda to me is nothing but business. Some people just want to, and they feel they can just hide under religion to perpetrate whatever they want to in our space. And we have remained ignorant of this plot. Coming under the guise of religion, this of all the conspiracy is the most potent against a people seeking gods to serve in everyone and everything. You will agree with me that our jihos are more or less gods. And situations, things by us, given our nature as Africa, we don't see God in everything. And then we obligate our responsibility where God expects us to take it. There is the agricultural seed conspiracy. I want you to listen to me very well. Recently, my wife bought a tangerine and brought it home. It was reddish in color. I pulled it and I put it inside my mouth, and I noticed that there was no seed in the first one I ate. Until I finished eating the bunch, there was no seed. And being a student of the Bible, I became curious, because all that God gave man was seed. And if there is a science taking the seed away from man, then it should bother us. But we have become unconcerned, and we are playing to the gallery. And it's just a matter of time that once the seed is taken out of Africa, another slavery will begin. And we are not alive to it. Now, to buy seed in the name of improved variety, we know how much farmers are paying. And imagine that there's no alternative. There's no longer any seed anywhere. And we have to depend on the LGBTQ control West to have seed to plant in our villages. Just paint the picture, and you will know that why her brothers are busy playing politics. We know that what is up against us is more than politics. Ask yourself, why is Elon Musk, an African, the richest man in the world today? The reason is simple. He is from Africa. Finding the mineral resources powering his dream will have been impossible if he is not from where the minerals are located. The disruption he is championing is unbelievable to the West, China, and to the Islamic world. Musk is a generational leader, one out of many of God's men out of Africa. Our political position in 2023 must be taken not just to elect a president, but to position Nigeria as a leader in the world for the purpose our continent must serve in God for the next generation. A lot of people in 1993 will not know that for one reason, I opted to go all the way with Basharu MKO Abiola for his reparation vision and advocacy. I don't know how many of you still remember. Because without taking a policy position on the influence of the West in Nigeria, we are going nowhere. And I have not seen that discussion in our political space. And that is the reason why I said we need more than just her candidate coming to tell us the stories we have heard in town. We need one of us to, on behalf of Nigerian people, chart the path that we believe can work, and then wait for them to embrace same or react to the same. But we will be prepared to work with anybody who become the president with the documents at our disposal. By the grace of God, just about a month ago, I was invited to a retreat on the state of the nation on the platform of the Kingdom Group, championed by my father who is here. And I presented a paper in that place that has become the framework that we're working on. It's no longer my paper. It's now the paper of Kingdom Group. And in 4 years, that paper will mop up 50 million people out of unemployment. Doable, simple thing. So we can't allow people to keep deceiving and telling us cock and bull story when there are persons among us who can make this thing happen without even vying for the presidency. We have seen somebody who have done that, changing the life of people who came to submit to him as a pastor. Why are we not going to have a president who can bother about what become of us? I like to script some of my writings so that I can be out of here. The Nigerian situation of insecurity is why we have brought our brethren from the north to come speak with us firsthand of what their experiences have been. So that's that we are not just taking a decision. As Southern Christian, I hope my fathers are listening, based on tribe and religion, but an informed decision. The peak of this session As Apostolic Round Table, we have my brother, Bishop Femi Shoneye, as the chairman, is the Bishop Theologian of this conference. Thank you so much for coming, so that biblical view can be brought to our discussion. We have somebody who had been through the race. Fantastic person. If presidency is won by debate and sound narrative, she should by now have been the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But you know that sense hardly makes sense in Nigeria. But we have our hair because we believe that our sense is an asset to us. Celebrate Professor Remy Shoneye for coming to this meeting. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. When that time comes, we'll be discussing, thank you so much, man. We'll be discussing the state of the nation in that light. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming out to us. This will have been a failure if I am here holding mic and you are not seated. So for me, you are the excellency that is making it happen. Thank you so much, all of the excellencies in the house.